Batman, Birth of the Joker. Let's go back to a time while the Joker was still normal man. A time before he became a thorn on Batman's side. A time before he died in Arkham City. Let's go back to the beginning. Gotham City, New Jersey. December of 1999. Well, December was here. It was nastily cold, and the first flurries of snow was falling. Jack Napier was a 17-year-old man who had dropped out of high school and got a GED the year before. He wanted to pursue his dream to be a stand-up comedian. He lived with his lived-in girlfriend, and he was legally emancipated from his parents, so he was his own man. His parents were against the idea of him dropping out of high school and going into comedy. He had a natural aptitude for a lot of things. He was a genius and knew a lot about chemistry. His parents were expecting him to go to college and major in chemistry. But he had other plans, his own plans. Those plans were soon going to change. Well, one cold December night, Linda, Jack Napier's girlfriend, hears the door slam. Linda screams, "Jack, is that you?" Well, Jack says, "Yeah, it's me." Well, Jack Napier comes in. He was disappointed. Linda asks him, "What's going on, babe?" Jack says to her, "It's nothing. It's nothing at all." He was trying to hide the fact that he was going through some trouble. Linda was like, "Come on, Jack, tell me what's going on." Well, Jack caved in and says to Linda, "Babe, it's my joke. I don't know what the Sam hell happened to me on stage. I tripped over my words and I blew the punchline and I got booed and hissed at. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I used to be such a funny goddamn guy back in high school. What the hell happened to me? Now I try to go into professional comedy and I'm screwing up left and right. What the hell?" Linda says to Jack, trying to calm him down, "Listen, babe, listen. You're a funny guy. You just have stage fright. You just now found out about it, probably. You just got to get your act together and concentrate, and you'll be funny. Trust me. That's why I dated you in the first place, because you were such a funny guy." Jack says to Linda, "Well, the audience doesn't think so. No one thinks so in every comedy club I played at. I can't believe this, man. What happened to me?" Jack was so perplexed and puzzled. But Linda, being the good woman she was trying to console him and lift his spirits. Well, she asked him the proverbial question, "Did you at least get paid?" Jack says to Linda, "Yes, I did get paid. It's enough to make the rent this month." Linda says, "Oh, thank goodness. And I got paid this week too, so we'll have enough for groceries," she said. Jack says, "Oh, thank God for small favors." Well, this was the least of Jack's problems. Jack and Linda were still teenagers. Both of them made a bad decision to drop out of school. At least Linda scored a decent job that paid well, while Jack pursued his dream of comedy. Well, it was a very hard road for both of them. Even though Jack was getting some good money from doing stand-up comedy, it was just only enough to pay the monthly rent. His girlfriend, Linda, was the real breadwinner of the house. The two of them were living out in a small apartment out in the infamous Park Row area. It was crime-ridden, it was dingy, it was a virtual slum. But the apartment they lived in was all they could afford. Well, they struggled by for a year. The only thing that kept them going was their love for each other, Jack's dream of making it big in the world of comedy, and Linda's hope that one day he was going to make it big. But things were about to change. About a week later, Jack comes home, and Linda asks him how did his comedy routine go tonight. Jack says, "It was great, babe. You were right. I just needed confidence, and they were rolling on the ground. And I did so well that the club owner paid me extra. This is great. Now I'm going to have some extra money left over after I pay the rent. This is great. This is great. I can see it now, Linda, says Jack. I can see it now. We're going to soon get out of this goddamn ghetto, and we're going all the way to Gotham Heights one day. No, scratch Gotham Heights. We're going to someplace better. We're going to Hollywood, he says to her. Well, she smiled, but Jack noticed there was something about that smile. It was not a happy smile. It was a, oh, okay smile. I got bad news kind of smile. Jack then asks her, what is it, Linda? You got that fake smile on. What's going on? Don't give me bad news, babe, he says. Well, Linda says, I don't call it bad news. I just call it a minor setback. Or just think of it as a bundle of joy coming. Jack's like, what do you mean bundle of joy? What are you saying? Well, Linda says, honey, I'm about a month pregnant. Not exactly a month pregnant, but very close to a month pregnant. Jack says, oh, no. You can't be pregnant. No. You can't. We both of us took proper precautions. Linda says, well, I guess one of us screwed up and I'm pregnant. Well, Jack was not thrilled. Then Linda tells him, Jack, we got a baby on the way. Let's face it, you're going to have to find a real job. Listen, I support your dreams of being the best comedian there is, but you're going to need a real job because there's that reality, that possibility that you might not make it in the world of comedy. And this baby's going to be costing us a lot of money. We can't stay in this project housing forever. We've got to give a good home to our baby. I don't want to raise a child in Park Row. That night, while the two couple were in bed, Linda was deep asleep, but Jack was wide awake. He couldn't stop thinking about the baby. He couldn't stop thinking about their situation. How was he going to make money to get them out of the situation they were in? How? Then Jack remembers he saw an ad in the newspaper. Somebody was looking for a strong, able-bodied young male to do certain jobs, and if they were interested, to call Donnie Johnson, and they gave the number. Well, Jack had cut out that ad because he was considering getting part-time work to help get extra money, just in case it was going to take him a little longer to get to the big time. Well, he gets up out of bed, walks over to his living room, grabs the phone, and dials the number. Then finally, someone picks up the phone. Hello? Jack identifies himself. Hello, my name is Jack Napier. I'm responding to your ad in the paper. I know it's kind of late, but it's a long story and I really need a job. Well, the man on the other end is like, okay, hold on. So you're Jack Napier, okay? You're interested in the job? I take you saw our ad in the paper. All right. So, where do you live at, kid? Asked Donnie. Jack says, well, I live out right now in Park Row. Whoa, Park Row, kid. Okay. Do you know a bar out there called Porter's Place? Jack says, yes, I do. Okay, kid. Why don't you meet us out there tomorrow night, say 9-ish? Jack's like, okay. Well, Donnie says, okay, my name's Donnie Johnson. I'm going to be with my friend, Roy Travers. You'll see us. We're going to be wearing suits. So, please be there on time. We really are looking for men. Jack says, okay, I'll be there tomorrow night, 9-ish. Okay. Well, Jack hangs up and he says, yes! Well, the next night, Jack arrives at Porter's Place, the local nearby bar. As he was walking into the bar, it was a typical bar. It was busy. The music was playing. And he saw the two guys that he was looking for, Donnie and Roy. Well, Jack makes his way over to them as he walked through the crowded bar. Jack walks up to them and introduces himself. Fellas, I'm Jack Napier. You must be Donnie Johnson and Roy Travers. The two guys says yes, yes, and both of them shook Jack's hands, and he says, "Thanks for the interest, kid. We really need help." "Well, we're looking for a young man," says Roy. "A young man who's willing to do any kind of job, no questions asked." Donnie then says, "Yes, no questions asked. Are you that kind of guy?" asks Donnie to Jack. Jack says, "Yes, I'll do any job, long as the pay is good." Well, the two men looked at each other, and then they leaned over to Jack, and Roy says to Jack, "Well, kid, me and Donnie here started a gang last month called the Red Hood Gang." Jack was surprised. He's heard about the Red Hood Gang on the news. A mysterious gang led by a guy in some bizarre looking red helmet and red cape. They've been hitting some high profile targets like banks, office buildings, you name it, they've hit it. Well, the police have been looking for them like crazy. Then Roy keeps on saying to Jack, "See, kid, our last guy got killed, and we need a replacement quick. So we're going to make a deal with you, kid. If you join us, you're always going to have a lot of money. But if you don't, we'll let you walk away from here. But you better not say a word to the cops, because we'll find out where you live, and you'll be a victim of the Red Hood Gang." So Donnie takes over and says, "Listen, kid, are you in or are you not?" Well, Jack leans back on his chair and thinks and thinks and thinks. It felt like an eternity to all three men, but then Jack leans forward and says, "I'm in. When do I start?" Well, the month of December dragged on, as now Jack was part of the Red Hood Gang, and they were hitting a lot of targets just about every night. And Jack learns that there is no leader of the Red Hood Gang, even though Donnie and Roy were the brains and the planners of this gang. In reality, the Red Hood was just a figurehead. Every crime that was planned, someone in the gang got to be the Red Hood, so if they got captured by the police, they didn't know anything. It was a very brilliant operation. Well, it was January of 2000. It was a new year, a new millennium, a new century. And Jack and Linda were getting ready to move. They were going to move into a nice apartment outside of Park Row finally. Outside of Park Row, Linda thought to herself, finally. As she was just going into her second month of pregnancy. Well, suddenly the phone rings. Jack says to Linda, "I got it, babe." He picks up the phone. He says, "Hello?" There was a voice in the other line. It was Donnie. Donnie says, "Jack, meet us tonight at the Blue Oyster restaurant at 6 o'clock. This is a big thing we're planning, and we need to talk to you first." Jack says, "Okay, I'll be there at 6 o'clock. He hangs up the phone, and he tells Linda, "I gotta go, babe. Important business meeting with the boss." He kisses her, and he leaves his apartment. Well, he makes it at the Blue Oyster restaurant, and it was around 6 o'clock. He sees Donnie and Roy sitting down. Well, he pulls up a seat, and he asks them, "So, what's going on, guys?" Roy was munching on crawfish, so Donnie spoke. Donnie says, "Listen, Jack, we just got done having a big meeting with Sal Valestra." Jack knew who Sal Valestra was. Sal Valestra was a big name mob boss in Gotham City. And Donnie keeps on explaining, "Well, Valestra wants the Red Hood Gang to break in to Ace Chemicals and to steal some formulas so he could use it in his company, Axis Chemicals. And tonight, you're going to be the Red Hood." Jack's like, "Me, the Red Hood? I haven't been in the game that long." Roy suddenly swallows his crawfish and says, "Listen, kid, it's been long enough. It's time for you to be the Red Hood, and tonight's a perfect night. We're breaking into Ace Chemicals, and we're stealing some important files from their safe." Well, suddenly, the two men noticed the police walking into the restaurant. Well, Jack saw that the men noticed somebody was walking into the restaurant. Jack turned around to see who it was, and it was the police. When the police saw Jack, they came right up to him. Jack freaked out momentarily. He was like, oh, why are the cops coming to me? Did they find out something? Did they know anything? They come up to Jack, and one cop says, Jack Napier? Jack says, yes, I am Jack Napier. Did I do something wrong, officer? Said Jack with a nervous stammer. The other officer says, no, Mr. Napier, can we talk to you in private? We got some bad news for you. Well, Jack turns around, tells Donnie and Roy, excuse me, guys. Well, both of them keep a close eye on him as Roy was still snacking on crawfish. Well, they looked as the police were explaining to Jack something from the distance, and suddenly they saw Jack starting to break down and cry. The police patted Jack on the back, said something to him, and they walked away. Well, Jack comes back to the table. He sits down, and he's crying, and he says, God, it's Linda. There's been an accident. There's been an accident at the apartment. There was an explosion. She died. Something happened to the gas. The pilot light went out or something when she went to heat the milk. There was an explosion. She died, along with several other people at the apartment. Oh my God. I can't do this job. I can't. Not now. Linda is dead. I can't, he says to Donnie and Roy. Donnie's like, listen, I know it sucks that your girlfriend just died, especially she was being pregnant and all, but we really need you to help us with this job, because Sal is going to pay us $1 million for this job, okay? $1 million. We need your help. Can you just put away the family crises right now, and then once we're done with this job, you could give your girlfriend the best send-off there is. Well, later on that night, Jack pulled himself together momentarily to do this job. He was going to do it for Linda. He couldn't pass up this money. So he was ready. He put on the suit and the bow tie, he put on the red cape, and he put on the final piece of the costume, that weird-looking red helmet. And before they left, Jack reaches in to his jacket pocket and he pulls out his lucky playing card deck, and he says with his muffled voice underneath the helmet, this is my lucky playing card deck. This thing's always brought me luck, and it's going to bring us luck tonight. Getting this job done so we can get paid handsomely. Let's go. Well, the men left, and they had arrived to Ace Chemicals. Well, one of the guys proceeded to cut a hole in the chain link fence, and all the men went through the hole in the chain link fence. Rory, the electronics expert of the gang, cut the wires to the alarm system, but tonight he made the biggest mistake of his life. He cut the wrong wire, and as they opened the door, the silent alarm went off. Well, the guard at the guard room saw the security monitors where the alarm was going off, and he saw the Red Hood and the Red Hood gang coming in, and he said, holy crap, it's the Red Hood gang. Well, the security guard at the security room grabs the phone and calls 911. Well, things are about to get disastrous. The police were on their way as soon as they heard it was the Red Hood breaking into Ace Chemicals. Out from one of the squad cars emerges Lieutenant James Gordon. He gets up and he tells his other policemen, all right guys, the Red Hood gang is in here and we're going to get them tonight. So everybody get in there, fan out, and I want the Red Hood alive. Read my lips, the Red Hood alive. The police officer says, yes, Lieutenant Gordon. Well, they all start running towards the chemical plant. Well, as Lieutenant Gordon was going to join them on the raid, he looks up briefly to the upper levels of the chemical factory. Well, he sees the dark clouds rolling in. Tonight's forecast called for freezing rain, but he was not looking at the rain clouds rolling in. He was looking to see if somebody else was coming, and they were. He sees his friend, the mysterious Batman, glide in and land on the roof of the chemical plant. Meanwhile, inside the chemical plant, at one of the offices, the Red Hood gang managed to cut the safe with a torch, and they grabbed all the files and CD-ROMs and they tried to make a run for it. But the police were already inside, and the police yelled, "Freeze! You're all under arrest!" Well, they all pulled out their guns and a firefight had begun. During the firefight, many of the bullets from both the police and the Red Hood gang were hitting the giant metal vats, causing noxious chemicals to pour out onto the ground. The fumes emanating from the pouring chemicals was very intense, that was causing both the cops and the bad guys to cough and their eyes to water. Well, that didn't deter them. They kept shooting at each other. Meanwhile, Jack Napier, who was the Red Hood, ran to the control platforms and started hitting levers, switches, and pressing buttons, causing all the machinery to go full speed. Then the Red Hood ran through the metal catwalks to try to get away from the police. Meanwhile, the other members of the Red Hood gang were trying to run from the police as soon as they ran out of ammo. Well, on one far end of the chemical factory, two guys ran into the Batman. Batman quickly pulled out his grapple gun and fired. Well, the grappling hook went right through the man's shoulder, and Batman pulled on the cable and yanked him right off the catwalk as the man fell to the ground below. Then the other guy proceeded to run the opposite direction as fast as he could, but Batman pulls out his batarang and flings it at the guy. The batarang hits the guy and knocks him out. Meanwhile, the Red Hood was still running, trying to get away as fast as he could, but then he got the biggest scare of his life when the Batman landed right in front of him. The Red Hood moves back quickly as Jack says underneath the hood, "Holy shit, it's real!" Red Hood quickly turns back around and runs the opposite direction, but he stopped. He pulls out his handgun, turns around and fires a few rounds towards Batman. But the Batman was not there. Where did the Batman go? Well, as Red Hood turns around, suddenly the Batman steps out right in front of him, and Batman quickly disarms Red Hood. Red Hood moves back quickly as he was trying to get away from Batman, saying, "Holy shit, stay away from me, stay away from me, or else I'm gonna jump!" Through the red-tinted lens of the Red Hood's helmet, Jack only saw the Batman coming at him like a giant black phantom. He freaked out that he didn't pay attention to where he was going. He hits the railing since he was moving back very fast and quickly flips over the railing. Well, he quickly hung on to the railing. Now he was hanging on to dear life, hanging from the railing over a giant vat of chemicals. He was freaking out. He looks up and he sees Batman trying to reach for him. In his panic, he lets go of the railing and falls into the vat of chemicals and makes a loud splash as he hits the giant vat of chemicals. It was all over for the Red Hood gang. Most of the members were dead, and the ones that Batman beat up were now in police custody. As for the Red Hood, well, he was sucked up by the drainage system in that vat of chemicals. Batman made his escape from the police by dropping a smoke pellet and then grappling out. He looks over the parking lot where the police were from the rooftop of Ace Chemicals, and he turns around. It began to pour down rain. It was freezing rain. As soon as the freezing rain hits the ground, it was going to freeze. It was a very common thing up north. Well, in the drainage vat system, where the chemicals are drained out to and treated before they get poured out into the waters, a familiar figure emerges from the vats. It was the Red Hood. He survived. Well, his clothes were eaten by the chemicals, and he was having trouble breathing under that helmet. Well, his skin felt like it was on fire. Chemical burns really hurt. But the cold rain falling down on his skin was so alleviating, he pulls off the stupid helmet as bloody foaming saliva was coming out of it. He says to himself, "Oh God, the rain, it feels great. Oh, my skin, oh God, oh. He wipes the foam from his mouth. He looked like a rabid dog, but he was about to get the biggest surprise of his life. He knew he was injured. All those chemicals, they had to do a number on him. So Jack made his way out of the chemical plant. He eventually made it to a nearby gas station, and he went inside the men's room of the gas station. He turned on the lights, and he got a good look in the mirror of the freak he became. His hair had become seaweed green. His skin was chalk white. He quickly pulled off the chemically eaten gloves that he had on, and his hands were also chalk white, and his fingernails were blue. Then he saw that his lips were rouge red. He looked like a clown. He looked like the Joker from his lucky playing deck. Then he proceeded to angrily punch the mirror, breaking it. And then he began to cry. God, what did I become? What have I become? But slowly and gradually, his crying was starting to morph into laughter. And then soon he let out his loudest maniacal laughter ever. Soon that laughter began to echo in the bathroom and began to echo in his mind. But as it echoed in his mind, it began distorting, twisting, just like his mind. Jack Napier was dead. The Joker was born. A twisted image of a man who had one bad day too many. Like and subscribe. The end.